Welcome back to Romantasy Chaos HQ, the podcast. We are Avorie and Xavier Harleston, healthcare professionals by day, romantasy theorists, and aspiring authors by night. Today we have a very special bonus episode for our inaugural Love Is Thou Wilt week. But first, this is your warning. We are not rated E for everyone. We will discuss adult topics with adult language on today's episode. Today we are joined by a special guest, author Rebecca Thorne. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Rebecca Thorne. I am a USA Today bestselling author of cozy fantasy and now soon cozy science fiction, and then some not cozy things. So I have been publishing for a while, and I think most people know me for my Tomes and Tea series, which is a quartet about two women who leave their intense fantasy lives to open up a bookshop that serves tea. There we go. That's
Everyone's
right
like if you're reading, if you are reading, you probably automatically love. I just finished this yesterday actually. But if you are reading, then you probably love a book about a bookshop.
I was very surprised to see how many booksellers picked up, and I shouldn't have been, because it's about someone who leaves their life to open up a bookshop, which should resonate with most booksellers. I just didn't realize that when I wrote it. But booksellers love that book because they're like, oh my gosh, it's me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's,
Yay. Well, hopefully with, less running from your past involved.
But still with griffins.
Griffins and dragons, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we get ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
And keep it. No, I get excited. But in keeping with our normal time-constrained episodes, we're going to do a quick rapid-fire get-to-know-you. So we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock. And if you are ready, we will
go.
What is your order at the coffee shop?
I get a black coffee, but I add cream and sugar to it. So drip coffee, cream and sugar.
The first car you ever owned?
A car named Lulabelle. It was a Honda Civic. Yeah.
Your favorite and least favorite thing about living in Colorado, where you just recently moved?
I love the variable temperatures. I love that it's sunny most days. Least favorite thing is that it is very hard to grow grass because it is a desert.
No.
So I should have known, but I didn't.
Fated mates or found family?
Found family, for sure.
Standalone or series?
Standalones. I prefer standalones.
Ooh, black cat or golden retriever?
Black cat.
Oh, I love it. What's the most courageous thing you've ever done?
Oh gosh.
Oh, Saved by the Bell. You can answer it or not. Your choice.
I don't know. The most courageous thing. I mean, I don't know. I feel like becoming an author, pursuing writing maybe, was probably pretty courageous, because you have to write for a long time with no gains, and a lot of people don't think that it's a real passion or real career until it starts making money, but that takes years and years and years. So yeah, it was pretty courageous, I think, to keep coming back to something that never actually paid, and people were just like, oh, but that's just a fun hobby for you, and I'm like, no, it's going to be my career. So, well,
A, congratulations, because it is, and B, yes. And then on top of that, there's this whole aspect of this is your thing that you created, and now you have to put it out into the world, and anyone can love it or not love it, and can say nice things or not nice things, and can pick a bone with you about well, why do they like that type of tea?
Yep. It's going to be a bit of a question, I think, with the new book. I'll be curious to see how people feel.
Oh boy.
Well, and I think one of the big courageous things about writing is if you write something that someone likes, almost by definition, you wrote something that someone else doesn't like. If you just write something kind of meh that no one has any feelings about, then I guess maybe no one judges it. But if you're got one person that's oh my God, it's amazing, then there's one person that's this is awful.
Yeah. The marketing has to be on point to get the right kind of people reading your books. Because if you mismarket and promise something that is not actually there, it ends up being just like a whole, it's like funny because if you like give them exactly what's in the book, people are like, oh, okay, and they choose to read it or not, and then they usually like it and the ratings are better. But if they like package it in a way that is not quite appropriate for that novel, like at one point there was a miscommunication with my publisher and they thought that my new book Mossed in Space was like Ice Planet Barbarians, and I was like, and I had to call them like immediately. I was like, take that down. Like, do not compare this to Ice Planet Barbarians. It has nothing to do with that book. They saw space, I think, and were just like, oh yeah, no, comp to Ice Planet Barbarians. And I was like, what?
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think it was just like a Monday morning without coffee kind of thing where they were just like, what's a comp that we can have? Oh, let's add Ruby Dixon in there. And I was like, don't.
Or how about no?
or we take that out immediately so that I don't get roasted by all the people who are expecting very explicit sex in this book.
So, well, that let's just start kind of from the top. So I think this was your I looked at your website. I think you had a children's book that you originally published, like your very first one.
Yeah.
Many years ago.
Way back. Yeah.
And then so this was your first adult novel. No.
No, so my publishing journey is so long. I was trying to do traditional publishing for 8 years. The middle grade book was in the middle of that. But over the course of that time, I've written, Treason was actually my 15th novel, and most of them were adult or YA. The middle grade was an anomaly, and I thought that I would pivot into that because they were the ones that bought the middle. I was like, well, I'll try middle grade and see if anybody buys it. And somebody did, but it was a mid-level press with a very small advance, and they didn't have the distribution that they needed to like actually get the book out there. So I actually got the rights back to that book because it was considered out of print based on how many copies they sold. So I have the rights back to that book now. I might try to publish it later somewhere else, but I'm just kind of sitting on it for now. And then I left traditional publishing after 8 years because of that experience where I was just like, this wasn't what I expected. Like I lost all my rights. I didn't have any creative control, and I really like all of those things. So I pivoted into indie publishing with Treason. And that worked really well, well enough that Trad actually picked me back up on a much bigger scale at a Big Five level in New York, and I was able to go back in and get republished with Tor and Bramble. So yeah, so it's like a long road. Like I think I'm up to like 27 books now, like 28 books now. I don't even know.
Because you're a very fast writer too.
I write really quickly. Yeah, I write very quickly. And there's a lot of books that I finished that are not even out yet. So a lot of people do think that Treason was like my first book. It was actually my 15th. That took a very long time to get published.
So you did you did indie, you got picked up by Trad, and then you've done a more I think you're right now you've kind of doing a little bit of both, right?
Yeah, so I am working on revamping my indie side. And it's not because I don't like Trad. It's just that I really enjoyed all the creative control that I had with indie. And there's more consistent payments made for indie. So traditional publishing, they pay you 3 to 4 times a year. And you never really know when those payments are coming because it's always on the schedule, like the publisher's schedule. With indie publishing, you get paid every month and 60 days out what that payment is going to be. So budgeting is a lot easier for a family. So we were kind of like, well, this makes more sense to be like, as my, like traditional contracts, they're not really winding down. I'm going to be publishing with them until at least 2028, potentially longer. And then I've got my indie stuff that I'm kind of trying to ramp up. But because my writing contracts are going to be done this year, I'm trying to like ramp up my indie side a little bit into next year. So yeah, it's kind of like they call it a hybrid model where you're doing both kind of simultaneously. And it can be tricky to manage because of the traditional contracts. They're somewhat restrictive into what you can do and when you can do it. But that's why I'm excited that they're like winding down for me because I'm almost done with my obligations of handing those off. And then I'll just be doing like the marketing and stuff on the back end. So
it's such like a grown-up thing. Like, well, actually it's because of our family budget.
Yeah, it's because of our family budget. Yeah. Like my wife and
But that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're moving into kids this year and we're just kind of like, like with the family planning purposes, we're just like the sporadic income makes budgeting a nightmare, so like it doesn't matter how good you are at it because you don't know when the next payment is coming. You're like, I think I can estimate this sometime in the fall, but it could be January of next year and we would never know, and that's really frustrating for a lot of people. So
yeah. Well, and if you don't mind talking about it, your wife is also writing a book.
She is working on writing a book. Yeah, she is. I'm hoping she gets it off the ground, but right now it's still in the very, very early stages. So she is working on a fantasy. It's like a science fantasy. It's a science fantasy, but it's like Tomb Raider in space kind of vibe. So it's gonna be very fun. It's gonna have like a vengeful goddess from like an ancient race, and then like an archaeologist from like modern day, but it's like futuristic. So it should be like a really cool mix of like fantasy, sci-fi, coupled with like, I don't know, just like a really good romance. I'm really excited.
So
cool.
you've written like, you really leaned into cozy fantasy with Tomes and Tea. And so is this going to be still like, it sounds a little more epic?
It's going to be more epic, I think. I think it's going to be more of an adventure fantasy than anything. The cozies work well for me because I strike a pretty good balance between like the adventure side and like the drama side, but then also like the comfort moments that come after those. I've heard from some people that like they don't consider my books very cozy because they're almost a little too intense, action wise and like fighting wise, and it's because I tend to add a lot of like drama and energy into those, and I think that I personally think that works well for cozy, because I think that if you are writing a cozy book, I always say that you can't enjoy the warmth of a fire without going out into the cold first, otherwise it just gets too hot, right? So you have to have those moments of like heightened like fear, I guess. But then the ultimate overall goal with my cozies is that you are safe with me. Like, you're safe. It's okay. So this book, I think, will be like, her book, when she finally finishes it, will probably be a little bit adjacent to that, where it's like there's going to be those cozy moments, but it's going to more be like you're not really going to know if the characters are going to be okay in some of the stuff that happens. And that's actually what I did with this book over here, Gilded Abyss. This is the US version, and then this one up here is the UK version. And those books are not cozy at all. Like, they are so far from cozy, it's crazy. It's literally a zombie apocalypse breaks out on a submarine, and two women are like fighting for their lives trapped under the ocean. So, wow. Yeah, wow. It's like the salophobia, like, to the max.
Like, as a person who has a little bit of claustrophobia already, like, my chest just got a little tight when you said submarine.
No, I have like some, like, the content warnings on this book are like, they're like a page long. Like, I'm just like, it's not cozy, please don't think it is. And then you look at the content warnings and it's like half of a page and you're just like, okay. Like, the second book is even worse. It's so bad.
So for you, for writing that, like, was your experience of writing kind of going from cozy to something much more intense? Because I will say, I just finished this book. There were moments of daring and adventure, but never the kind where I was like,
yes. And that's the
like,
difference,
you don't get
right?
that
like,
feeling.
Right. Like, that's the defining trait, I think, of cozy versus not, right? Like, when you talk about like the way that a plot progresses, you can notice the difference between those two things because of how the reader is taking that. So like, when drama happens in this book, in Gilded Abyss, people don't know if the characters are going to survive. And like, a lot of them don't. Like, it has many, many deaths. I kill many characters in this book. But then in my cozies, it's like, yeah, they might have like a fighting moment, but then there will be like her comfort moment after, where they're like nursing them back to health, and they're like showing them how much they love them and how scared they were for them. And that's cozy inherently. So I think that it's like kind of fun to play. I will say, switching back and forth, because this one's a trilogy, this one was a quartet, and then this one, the Lost in Space one that's coming out, is a trilogy as well. So writing the Gilded Abyss series interspersed with cozy books was actually very difficult to switch between. It takes like a lot of mental energy to like wrench my brain out of like a cozy mindset back into like the, okay, blood and gore, let's like kill people and have fun with it, right? And then go back to the cozy. And it's just like, and my brain is just like, like, so that was something I didn't really expect.
But when your like darkest moment of cozy is higher than your like non-dark moment in the intense one, that's like a phase shift.
It's like a phase shift. Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like, this book, like, at the end of this book, they're trapped, like, they're going down to an underwater city. And at the end of this book, they're trapped in the underwater city. And the whole second book takes place in the underwater city. But there's no escape. So it's like the whole time you're just like, well, how are they going to get out? And that book took me 3 years to write because I didn't know. Like they're like, well, what are you going to do? What's the answer? I'm like, I don't know, I trapped them too well. Like, there's no escape. They're based on the plot and the canon I established. There's no escape. Like, how are they going to get out? And that took me a long time to puzzle through. But in the meantime, like, you know, the characters are just like being battered left and right by this like basically zombie apocalypse, and it's just like a whole mess. So yeah, it's like very like, and I kind of did that because I wanted to show people that like I could tell that I was starting to get a bit of a name with the cozy books, and I love that. I'm very happy to have a name with that, but I also have been writing for so long that I've had so many other books, and the cozy books were this was like the first time that I ever wrote cozy, because cozy wasn't a genre before 2022. Everything before that point was this, right? It was like the heart pounding, intense action. So I kind of wanted to show that I could write a range of things and not just like the one thing that people expect from me. Because I do plan on switching up the genres later on. Like I have a lit RPG planned that I'm going to hopefully tackle sometime next year, maybe. And then I've got like another, like a gothic fantasy that I might want to try at some point. So there's like a lot of different things that it's like, yeah, the cozy is like where I found my home, but like, I don't necessarily think that that's the only thing that people should know me for. And it was important for me to release these books to kind of prove that. So.
So would you like, obviously you're planning, but would you say that you are like really writing yourself into a hole that you don't know how to get out of? Feels like where would you say there's a spectrum of like heavy plotter to heavy discovery writer. Yeah. Where would you say you kind of fall on that continuum?
So I call myself so like in our words, it's like the pantser, writing by the seat of your pants, and the plotters. And I call myself a plantser. I'm like right in the middle. I used to be a hardcore pantser, just like writing whatever I wanted. And I ended up rewriting a couple books like multiple times because I wrote them into very dramatic plot holes. And I realized very quickly that that was not going to work for me long term. So I started plotting, and I use a method that I didn't come up with it, but I coined it, I guess. I call it the 5-sentence method. And I wrote a writing craft book about it that you can find on Amazon. But it basically identifies 5 sentences in your novel from start to finish that you can use as like baselines, like goalposts, basically, as you're writing your book. So I do the 5% mark, the 25% mark, the 50% mark, the 75% mark, and the 95% mark. And then I can fill in everything else with whatever I want in between. And it basically just allows me that creative freedom to kind of discover how the plot goes, but it also ensures that I hit the pacing points that I need to make sure that like I don't have to rewrite the book later because the pacing is completely off. So it's useful. It's very helpful for that. I do think that I need to probably amp up my plotting because of how fast I'm writing. So like the Gilded Abyss, like if I had done more than the 5 sentences, I would have known that the ending would trap them at the bottom of the ocean. And I knew that halfway through the book. But then like once they got to the ocean, I was like, well, that's future Becky's problem. She'll figure it out. And that was a mistake. I really should have planned that one better. Everyone is just like, how are they going to get out? And I'm like, I don't know. But if you have ideas, please feel free to send them along.
Like, do you have any theories? I'd love to know your theories.
Well, the book is written now, so I actually did do it. It just took me 3 years to get there.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it took a while, and I had to add kind of a wild card to it that like is plot related, but also, like the way that I wrote that city, it was designed to not be accessed except for the way that they got in, and then that way was destroyed, and there's no way for them to rebuild it. And I was just like, okay, so yeah, like their whole second book is just them exploring this underwater city that's like basically creepily abandoned, and there's zombies everywhere, and it's great. The vibes are great in that book.
So do you have the video game under like design yet? Because this 100% feels like
BioShock?
that first person shooter that like everyone would be like.
Yeah, it was based off of BioShock. Literally, like I designed the first book based off of BioShock. The world is like very Art Deco.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah.
That's so fun. So I'll start by saying you definitely in Tomes and Tea have created a queer normative world, and your main couple, the romance is certainly not center stage, but it is definitely part of the story.
Yeah, present the whole time. Mm-hmm.
Definitely present the whole time, and is its own plot in a way, and really pairs nicely with kind of that cozy vibe, because I think all relationships are about, strength. A relationship gets stronger when, just like a muscle, you damage it and then you repair it. And so there's some beautiful relational repair that takes place that shows like relationships are not easy. They're not perfect because people aren't perfect. And you're going to have trouble in your relationship. And it's really about how you repair when those things come up, that helps you build your relationship. So I'll say that. But it's a sapphic relationship, in a queer normative world. And are all of your books sapphic and queer normative, or is that something that kind of varies?
No, they're pretty much all sapphic and queer normative. I am married to a woman. I identify as bisexual, but honestly, the longer I'm married to her, the more I'm just like, lesbian, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, I got into some heat on Threads for saying that a little bit ago, but I'm just like, I don't know how else to identify. Like, I'm queer and I'm going to call it that, but I think that for me, when I'm writing, especially when I'm writing a cozy book, right? Like, I don't want the conflict to come from like who they love or how they identify. I don't think that should be where conflict should come from. Like, people should be judged based off of their personality and their actions. They should not be judged based off of how, like, who they decide to love or how they decide to live. And I think that is something very important in the cozy worlds, and even in like my actual world, like the world that is just like death and destruction. The queer part is not a problem. like there's so much shit going on in this book, and like the queer part is never an issue. It's just like, okay, like people are just like, yeah. And I think that's just because overwhelmingly that's the kind of world that I desire to live in. Like, I want to live in a world where we don't need a pride flag, where we don't need the labels, where we don't need anything, because it's just normal. People are like, yes, you two are a couple, and that is the vibe. And it's like, cool. Like, yeah. So I definitely prioritize that in there. When it came to like the way that the relationship developed, I actually wrote the Tomes and Tea book because I felt at that time in my life, I was not dating my wife. And I felt very cheated about the idea that I had been told, like, happily ever after, right? You meet a person, you have a spark, you fall in love, and then it's fine. And happily ever after comes, and like you're good, right? And I think I believed that too hard in my 20s, where it was just like, oh, like everything will magically work. And if it doesn't magically work, that person's not right for me. And I kind of sabotaged a lot of relationships in my 20s because I was expecting them to just magically work out. And then I started going to therapy and learning that, like, it takes conversation. Like you said, it takes the repair, right? You damage something inevitably, and then you have to decide if you're going to make it stronger. So I always say that with Keanth and Raina, it's like a choice every day when they wake up. Are they going to stay together today, no matter what happens, right? Like, when does the choice come in? And I think that is like a recurring theme with them, where it's just like they make the choice every single day that they're like, of course, like, no matter what happens, no matter how annoyed I get, no matter how frustrated I am, this is my partner, and I'm making the choice to stay with this person, and I think I think that was very powerful for me to realize in my 30s. And once I realized it, I got married within like a year and a half. Like, it was wild how fast I fell in love and was like, okay, cool. So it's just, I think that it's just like, it's nice. Like, I wanted to show an established relationship and what happens after happily ever after, because I feel like it's very easy for people to just be like, that's the end of their story. But there's so much that goes into a relationship and maintaining it. And I learned from books. So I was like, I would have loved to have a book like this as a kid, because it might have taught me more, and I might have found my partner earlier if I had known that this was how it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually a pretty big romance and a huge romantasy genre fan, but like one of my big complaints is they're generally presented as like the relationship would be perfect if the bad guy stopped showing up, if the world stopped falling apart, right? And the only conflict that they're having or ever going to have is whatever external. The big bad is. Yeah. And relationships are built and lost in the more quiet moments, right? And
that's exactly it. Like, it's 100% like the recurring problems that you address and then don't get fixed. And it's like, and then they're addressed over and over and over again, and they are still never fixed. And it's like, okay, if you're not going to fix it on the 5th time, maybe we have a bigger issue, and I think that is like that growth together, where it's like one person, it feels safe enough to present, because that's something too, right? Like, if they feel like they're going to get mocked, if they feel like they're going to be scorned, they're not going to bring up that concern, So like, if they feel safe enough to bring up the concern, and then the other person feels safe enough to listen to it and recognize where they might have gone wrong and accept that they need to fix something, and then they move forward together as a partner. Like that's gold. Like that's cozy, right? Like that's love, you know? And I think that I did get very frustrated with a lot of those romantasies where they're just like this whirlwind, high sex based romance that just didn't really relate to me. Like I didn't really feel like there was anybody that I liked that much to want those types of things with. And it's nice to, like, of course I like to read them with the best of them, you know? Like I read them and I get swept up in the world, but again, it was like I got to a point in my life where I just wanted more substance. Like I wanted to know more about like I almost wanted it to be like a therapy session in fiction. And I've heard from a lot of people that actually was very helpful for them. Like they learned a lot. And I've actually heard from some couples that like certain times they'll have like an argument and they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is just like this chapter in Rebecca Thorne's book. And then they'll like pull those tactics that I used inside where the characters are talking it out and they'll put that in their own. And like a couple of people have been like, yeah, we recover from like these big arguments because we use the tactics in your book. And it's like, oh, wow, that's really cool.
That must feel really good. And I honestly, I was reading it and I'm like, oh, look at that. I really dislike, I'm gonna get eaten alive. Maybe no one will listen to me talking this far. I don't like fated mates because
I'm not a huge fan of it.
Feel like it is not at all reflective of having a relationship in the real world.
Right.
And so I get that for some people, it's like the fantasy of that.
Right.
And that's great. But when you have a partner who you love and you're choosing every day and who maybe some days it's much harder to choose them than other days.
Yeah.
And some days maybe your energy for choosing them is much less than their energy for choosing you. Like, but you continue to make the choice day after day. That to me is like so valuable. Yeah. And when you have like the fated mates kind of takes that away a little bit. Like when there's.
And the thing that drives me kind of crazy about fated mates is they are, and I'm not a big fan either because they're treated like that's the easy relationship. Right. And I actually think that's the hardest relationship. Like you are fated and you're going to be committed for life and
you don't even know if you like this person.
Match.
Yeah.
Like I don't get to walk away. So we have to figure this out.
Right.
Sounds way harder than like, oh, well, if you get boring, I'm going to peace out. So
see, now that is a book I would read. It's like a fated mates, but in reverse, where it's like they don't actually want to be together, but they have to be. I think that would be very interesting. Turning that trope on its head and having to learn how to work through things to decide whether or not this is like something. And then at the end, they could end up in like a lavender marriage at the end.
Well, and the reality is like, people continue to change and grow. And I think one of the hardest things about being in a relationship long term, we've been together 20 years, you have to continue to change and grow in the same direction and kind of at the same pace. Right. And that's really hard to do. You can plant 2 tomato plants next to each other, and this one's going to be 18 inches tall, and this one's 6 inches tall, and this one's giving you tomatoes, and this one isn't. It's hard to get things to grow in the same direction at the same pace. That is hard. And that takes work. And then when you add in additional factors like the world, jobs, families, like it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it was very interesting to watch my wife and I, because I feel like we have learned that it's like, you're going to have to become somebody new, and that person is going to have to like love who that new person is. But you're going to, like you said, have to grow kind of at the same time. I don't know. It's interesting. I think that one of the other things that I really wanted to make happen in the Combs and Tea series was that even though they're like this really strong unit together pretty consistently throughout the book, they both have their individual things going on. Like they both have their individual like battles, but they come together and like relate to those battles in a much more understandable way. Which I think is kind of cool, because I think that that's also a part, right? Like you all have your own goals, your own dreams, your own hopes as individuals. And then how do you support those other person's dreams, right? Like how do you support what you've got with the other person? I think that there's so many different aspects of relationships that I'm surprised are not in fiction, because everybody keeps going for the happy ending. And I feel like there's so much untapped potential for an existing relationship that I don't usually get to see.
Yeah, and this probably have to be an own voice thing to be done well. But now that we're talking about it, like I'd love to see a fantasy arranged marriage that was happy. Because like we have friends that have like arranged or arranged adjacent marriages, and they approached that relationship with
So differently.
such clarity on like, this is how we're going to like communicate, and
Yeah.
like this is
Yeah.
how you resolve conflict. I'm like, wow, that is a really different experience than, hey, that person across the room's cute, maybe they'll give me their phone number.
Right, right. Yeah, it's like a totally different vibe. Like there was a period in my life where I was like, God, I wish I could just be a part of an arranged marriage because then I don't have to think about it, you know?
Right.
Glad now that that didn't happen, but I definitely, yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
it's enticing. It's tempting, you know?
And one of the things I think you did really well was the one of the characters is dealing with a lot of anxiety. And anxiety is the type of thing that it is so inner that it can be really hard for the people around you to even know that that's what you're dealing with. Like it takes a lot of work and courage to talk about that. And then the people around you can't fix it either.
Right.
Like,
they have to just be present for it.
Yeah. But they can hear what you are saying and then choose how they're responding. And I think you just did that so beautifully. In here. I noticed that as I was like, oh, that's really how I wish everyone who was dealing with anxiety had a partner who was responding like that.
I honestly, like, COVID was the first time that I'd ever gotten panic attacks. I was not an anxious person before COVID. And then for some reason, like something about like the way the world shifted, I literally like started getting actual panic attacks over COVID. And I had never had that before. And they'd last for like a week at a time, right? Like I wouldn't be able to eat for like an entire week because I'd just be so anxious about whatever had triggered me at that moment in time. And it was one of those things where I kind of like had to learn again through therapy, like how to walk myself back and like talk to my brain as if it was like a very scared 2-year-old, you know, where you're just like, oh, what are you scared of? And it's like, well, this thing is going to be crazy. And you're like, oh my God, that is scary. But like, also, is it immediate? Is it happening now? Like, and like learning how to like identify those moments where I would start to descend and then like stop that descent with the comfort of people and things, you know. I think that, and like the touch, you know, like physically being present. All of those things were really useful for me to learn. So it was very easy for me to add those into Kian's journey. And I'm like really proud with where she ends up in my book 4, because like it's something that she consistently works on throughout, like from book 1 all the way to book 4. And by the time book 4 comes, like you can tell that she's still a little anxious. Like that still is a part of who she is, but she's gotten a better handle on who she is and where she fits in her society. And she knows that Raina will be there no matter what for that. So it's like, it's very nice to like kind of see her like walk, like she has moments where you see like in book 1, she would have descended into that. And then by book 4, she's like talking her way out of it herself, right? Like she's able to talk her way down from her own mental state, which I think is growth, right? Like, yeah, I think the whole purpose of those books is like showing that like you can change your life for the better and you can identify things that are not so great and make those better. And you deserve that, because like humans don't deserve to sit in suffering. They don't deserve to sit in a job they don't like. They don't deserve to sit with a partner they don't love. You know, like I think that humans deserve to go out and find something great. But then once you have it, it's important to recognize that you have it and be grateful for it, you know? So I think that both things can be true.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned COVID. And so were you worked as a flight attendant. Were you working in the airline industry then?
Oh yeah. I definitely brought COVID. Yeah. I think I had COVID 4 times. Because like we just kept going back out and getting it again and then going back home and sleeping it off and then going back out and getting it again. And I was lucky I didn't get affected with long COVID, but I know flight attendants who did. It was it was a weird time. Not a lot of people on planes, you know, we'd have 1 or 2 passengers on a plane total, which were wild. Which was wild. But I mean, they changed our procedures a lot. And then it was just like that fear, right? Like we're the essential workforce. We're not allowed to go home and bundle up, right? Like we don't get the curfew. We don't get to go home and just like make bread. Like we had to be out working for that kind of thing. So it was a weird time. It was a weird time. Don't recommend it.
Are you still flying, or have you?
I am still a flight attendant. Yeah, I don't fly too much anymore. My job is really nice that it allows me to cut back on work hours when I need to. We have like a system where they like hand me trips, and if I sell those trips to other flight attendants, I'm not obligated to do them anymore, and they never check up on me. So I have sold a lot of my trips lately because I am making more money staying home and writing books. But I do still go fly sometimes. Like my wife just actually got a job as a flight attendant with Southwest, and she has been able to kind of go in and start working now. So I'll pick up a couple trips with her on occasion and just kind of work from there. Yeah, it's a good job. I mean, I really loved it. I worked it for 13 years consistently before I started taking time off. So yeah, I've been there for ages. I will be there for ages more.
So you have a pretty big social media following. Have you ever been recognized?
Not on the plane, thankfully, but definitely in like stores. Like I've gone to like the grocery store and people are like, "Are you Rebecca Thorne?" And I'm like, "Yes." And what's funny is that it's a very small number of people that recognize that I actually wrote these books. They either know me from my books or they know me from, in which case they don't know my face, or they know me from my TikTok videos and they don't know that these are my books. Like they know I'm a writer from my TikTok videos, but they don't know that these are my books, you know? So they'll be like, I never put this two together until just now that you're the writer of these books. And I'm like, yes. Like, so yeah, that's been a little weird, honestly. Like I expected it like a book festival because people are like, oh, you're expecting, but like I've been recognized in very odd places that I would like not expect somebody to have found me.
That's amazing. Have you ever like recognized another author on like when you were flying? I'm just like,
no, I haven't had too many famous people on my planes. Shockingly, I haven't had too many famous people on my planes. The biggest one I think that I've had was I had Phyllis from The Office when she was flying from Nashville to LA during Inside Out, when they were recording Inside Out, and she was recording Sadness for Inside Out. She was, and it was funny because she didn't, like, none of us even knew she was there, right? Like, but I was sitting on the jump seat and I'm looking at my first row of people and I'm looking at this woman and I'm just like staring at her like this. I'm like, you know, like squinting, kind of looking, and I'm like trying not to be obvious about it, right? Because I don't want to just like make that passenger uncomfortable. So I'm just like, but I'm like looking, I'm like, she looks so familiar. I'm like, oh my God. And she's so funny because she knows what that look is, right? And she's just smiling at me. She's like, you know, like smiling back. And I just, at the end, like when we land and we'd start to deplane, I kind of stand up and I was like, are you Phyllis from The Office? And she's like, yes, I am. And I was like, oh my God, like lost my mind. I was so excited. But yeah, like it's like so bad. I'm very bad at recognizing faces. So like if there were famous people on my plane, I would never know who they are because I'm not good at placing faces.
He has face blindness. I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure I've walked past you in a store.
Yes.
Yeah, no, like it's like if my brain is not expecting the context of that person being there, I don't know who that person is. And then even when I think I do, my brain like second guesses whether or not that's actually the person. Yeah, the face blindness is very real.
Yeah.
Makes life fun. Everything's new.
Well, the nice thing is, as someone who doesn't have face blindness, like every time we watch a show or something, I'm like, oh, you know who that is? He'd be like, of course I don't know who that is.
Yeah, and of course I don't know who that is. Yeah.
Of course, he thinks I have some great skill. I don't have great skill.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Honestly, like that's very much how I feel too. My mom calls me, oh my gosh, do you know who this person is? I'm like, no, I have no idea.
Best part about electronic health records is they added pictures.
Yes. Yeah, true. That would be great, honestly. Yes. In your line of work, I can imagine that would be very useful.
So I'm totally lost because we just did not follow the outline at all. I don't even know
I guess you guys were working during COVID too. How was that?
Well, actually, I have some high risk things, so we couldn't work during COVID. So that was like a huge.
Well, we worked from home.
We worked from home. So
yeah, that's fair.
Complete change of like context.
Yeah, like of lifestyle and everything
jobs,
else. Yeah.
And then we moved down to a compound with my parents in the middle of nowhere.
Nice.
And spent almost all of COVID like with her parents and my parents and the kids all on like a multi-generational compound.
That's like the dream though. Like I would love that.
Well, you say that.
I was going to say maybe not if I'm trapped there, but like.
Well, but it was for the children, and we had to sit our children down when they went back to school on the second day because they came home and talked to us about what they told people. We're like, you can't tell people that COVID was awesome.
Like,
no, that's not like that phrase can't like. Let's talk about how you can express the fact that like you like living on a compound with
Right, with your
multi-generational
family,
families.
yes, but like maybe don't mention that there's, yeah, no, I totally get that.
Well, and at the risk of oversharing,
Hmm.
again, it was super convenient, but like when you live in the middle of nowhere, you don't lock your house. But then when you
Hmm.
live in the middle of nowhere and you would like to have some alone time, like it's weird
Hmm.
when you have to lock yourself into the house to get alone time because you just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know when your mother-in-law is going to just walk in the door and holler,
Yep,
"Hey, can I borrow 3 eggs?" And you're like,
yep. And
Yeah,
you're like, oh my gosh,
good
please
thing
no.
I'm good
yeah. I
thing the
mean,
door's closed to the bedroom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there were some moments the Gilded Abyss sounded attractive. No,
Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's trapped at the bottom of a submarine. They do have some very
My-
sexy moments in that submarine. So,
Are all oh, and that was the question. Are your books all closed door?
there, no, Gilded Abyss definitely is not. And there's actually a spicy scene in Pirates, the second book in the Tomes and Tea series.
Oh.
And I did that because I got wind that so cozy fantasy is a really new genre. It started in 2022 with Legends and Lattes, as far as like naming it, right? Like there are other books that could be
Mhm.
sorted into it now, but back then it was like Legends and Lattes was kind of it. And I picked up Legends and Lattes in March 2022, right before it was pulled off of shelves as an indie book, and it was republished as a traditional book 6 months later. And I took it over that 6 months, and I left my agent. I left traditional publishing. I spent the entire summer writing my cozy fantasy Treason, and I was marketing the whole thing on TikTok. Got a huge following off. Well, not even a huge. It was like 5,000 followers, I think, off of that for that summer. And then I self-published it in September, 1 month after, or 1 month before his book was re-released. Legends and Lattes was re-released. And my goal was like, maybe if I get it out quickly enough and I write well enough, I can be the divergent to his Hunger Games because no one else sees this genre coming. And that worked really well for me, like shockingly well for me. So like people would pick up his book and then they'd be like, well, what else is like it? And my book was the only one like it because I was the only one marketing it as a cozy fantasy at the time. But then in Pirates, this book, first off, I doubled the lesbians in this one. Like there's two main characters that are lesbians because in my first book, they were like, didn't know it was a lesbian romance. So not my cup of tea. And I got multiple reviews like that and they're all 1 star. And I'm just like, okay, like I mentioned a girl and her girlfriend on the back cover. Like I figured that would be pretty obvious, but maybe I'm wrong. So like so my dedication for Pirates is consistently the one that everybody like reposts about. They're always just like, because I said like to the people who gave me 1 star reviews because my first book had lesbians, I doubled the lesbians in this one just for you, right? And everyone like thought that was hilarious. So they all, it's like it's like on Reddit. It's like people post it all the time. But the other thing that I did for this one is during the re-release of this one, because it was indie published first, during the re-release when we republished it, there were murmurings that cozy fantasy, because it was tended to be more closed door. It was more clean fantasy, right? More Christian fantasy. But the original book, Legends and Lattes, had a gay couple in it as well. And so it became like a very queer accepting space because Travis Baldry, who I've talked to and been like, and he's like a straight white guy. And I was like, why did you choose to write lesbians in your book? And he was just like, we've had enough screen time. And that like that was his answer. Like he's like, we've had enough screen time. I wanted to show some other relationships to like get more acceptance out there. He's like the nicest guy. If you ever have the chance to talk to him, highly recommend. But he, because of that, it's like he made this very queer accepting world, this very queer accepting genre where a ton of people, like queer writers, could be safe there, as opposed to someplace like straight romantasy, right? Which was based in Akatar, right? So it's like
Right.
straight romance, and if you write gays, people, unless it's male, straight women love male romance, but like but like if you're writing any other kind of queer romance, you're going to get crucified. And not so much these days, but in the early days of Romantasy, it was like if it wasn't straight, it wasn't selling, and it was not selling in a very bad way. So when the Christians came over and started saying that cozy fantasy was clean fantasy, I got spiteful again in my second book. I was my spite book. And I wrote very, very, very sexy open door spice scene at the very end that it's like its own one shot. And I did have to like explain to people because there's a lot of like teenagers that read this book. So I had to like very clearly label it like, hey, from this point on, it's not closed door anymore. And I did get like some teachers being like, what do I do? Should I rip out this section? Because I wanted to put it in my library. And I'm like, I'm like, yeah, but I think it was important at the time because like I was one of the bigger cozy fantasy authors in the very start. And it was important for me to identify that like cozy is not closed door. It doesn't have to be closed door. Like it can be whatever you want it to be. And if what feels cozy to you is intimate sexual times with your partner, that's okay. Like, what I didn't want is for the Christians to cut like the Christian evangelicals to come in and be like, this is clean fantasy. And it's like, no, it's queer fantasy, and there's a difference. Like
maybe you should have let them just secretly sneak it in there.
I mean, honestly, if any evangelical Christian was, which they probably wouldn't because it's got a gay couple anyway, but if any evangelical Christian was reading it, it would kind of sneak in there because I don't have any other spice in any of the other books. Like it's just, it's that one super spicy, and it's really raunchy. It's like that one really raunchy where they have like magical toys and everything, sex scenes at the end of Pirates. Yeah, no, like it's like very raunchy. And then that's it, and there's no more. It's just, I'm a petty bitch. What can I say?
I kind of love that about you.
I'm gonna let my mind wander to the magical toy side of things.
To the magical toy side of things. Yeah, well, I'm like, okay, it's a fantasy. How do they get dildos, right? Like, are they vibrating? I don't, like, let's think about the logistics of this here. Okay, one of them is an elemental mage. Let's work with that. Like,
yes, I'm like, she can talk to the elements. Mm-hmm. They do things like reform themselves into other things. Mm-hmm. I could see it.
Just use your imagination. There could be some very cool sex scenes with those characters, to be honest.
I feel like there could be like take on the energy of a hummingbird.
Yeah, maybe. That could be fun.
Not an actual hummingbird. Don't be weird.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think there's a lot of opportunity in cozy to kind of show that type of thing. And I feel like I'm very pleased that it's funny because like I talk about, like people I think that I'm more conservative than I actually am. And I feel like there's a reason that there's a lot of more explicit sex coming out in books for women, especially. And I actually just heard this from somebody else a couple days ago. We were talking about cozy fantasy and like all the different fantasy genres that are coming out right now. And how it's kind of nice because we're seeing a lot more of this explicit sex. But what's interesting is that fantasy before this point was based very much towards the male audience, right? Like Tolkien, like they're all like, there's these epic fantasies that are not with female characters. They're not based in female stories. They're not showing female side of things. And love is a huge part of the feminine experience. So now that we're starting to see more feminine experiences in fantasy, we're of course starting to see more of this like sexual side, right? Like there's more like men just don't go to their books to get it, but women do, right? Like women can use their imagination in a way that I'm not convinced, maybe not all men. I think there are men that can, but I also feel like men are more visual and therefore like pornographic sites are more impressive for them. But like women, our porn is books, like, in a lot of ways. I think that it's,
and I think we've been taught to be lazy.
Honestly, I kind of, that wouldn't surprise me, I guess. Like it's hard to engage your brain to use words on a page to get a visual experience. And honestly, like as a writer, what's been interesting to me growing up is that I can see my friends losing their imagination if they're not actively working that muscle, right? If they're not reading all the time, they don't have the imagination to. So like when you look at, like I wrote children's books and YA books and adult books, right? And the difference was when you're writing an adult book, even 10 years ago, the adult book would be like, he got into the car and the car was a Honda Civic with a squeaky door. And when he started it, it stuttered a little bit. So he'd probably need to get his shocks looked at. And he slammed the door closed, but the lock didn't quite go. And that's because of this problem that happened years and years ago. And it's like so dramatic, like so intensely descriptive because adults don't know. But like when you read a kid's book, they're like, he got into the car. And that's all they say, right? Like they don't tell what kind of car it is. They don't tell what the squeaky door. They don't tell about the lock not working. They don't tell about the history of the car. He got into the car is what you see in a kid's book. And that's because kids don't need to know all of the details. They can imagine those details.
Right.
Like kids have that imagination. Like you hand them a cardboard box and it becomes a palace. And I think that a lot of adults forget that, not just men, like men and women. I think it's hard to have that visualization of creativity if you're not constantly working that muscle.
Yeah.
Totally. So in the theme of working that muscle, can I request a fanfic? Because now I want can't spell toys without T, and it's a magical wand shop. but
I
that
mean,
kind of wand.
Valid. Honestly, I feel like that would probably sell. My readers would be all over it. They'd be so excited.
Write a fanfic of your own book. I love it.
Yeah, a fanfic of my own book. Is it a fanfic at that point? I feel they did Noelle Stevenson did that, I think, in She-Ra.
I don't.
One of those famous creators for one of the gay books went on to fanfiction and like very sneakily wrote like a fanfiction of their characters, and their writing was so distinct
fantastic.
and their writing was so distinct that everybody picked it out immediately. Like there was no question, right? Like they were just like, holy crap, that's the creator. Oh my god, I think it was the She-Ra creator. I think that she went in and did, or they went in and did that. But I'd have to look up. I know that happened. I have not been on AO3, and I want to be so bad. I know that there's fan fiction for my books, but I have not read it yet because I am trying to respect the reader spaces, but also I want to read them so bad.
Yes, I think it's like such a compliment to authors that like, because you inspire, you get people's imagination going, and then to be a part of someone's imagination now saying, oh, and what if?
It's so special, honestly. Like I think that one of the things that people like about me, and that's why they follow me a lot on socials, is because I'm constantly like, everybody should write a book. Like I believe that in my soul. I'm like, everybody has a story in them. Everybody has a story in them. And it doesn't take that much extra effort to like put it on page, and the world could really benefit from your specific story because everybody has different experiences, and the more experiences we read, the more accepting we are, So I personally think that like the more people who write books, the better off the world will be, because now we have the ability to understand you in a way that we may not otherwise. Yeah, I don't know. I just like, I'm like laughing because I'm like, I always knew I was going to be an author. From the time I was 11 years old, I was like, that's my career. My parents were like, get a job. Get a job, right? Like, they're like, LOL, no, get a job. So I became a flight attendant, and then in the meantime, they're like, okay, so she's a flight attendant. And they just like wrote it off. And in the meantime, I'm sitting on the jump seat every night, like, like on my flights, just like, like writing, like there's a call bell and I'm like, what? I am working. Like I have to run out there. I want a Coke. Yeah, I bet you do. But like it's great because it's like I feel very grateful now because I'm glad that I didn't get published earlier because I tried for 8 years to get published and it did not work very well. And I'm glad that experience happened because I feel like now with all the experiences that I've had, I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity, like the opportunities that have been presented to me, because I feel like a lot of people, like I know that I'm in a position that authors, like many authors, would die for. Like there are so many authors who are desperate or would love to have the daily income to be able to sit at a computer and write stories every day. So even when it's hard for me and when I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel burnt out, I wish I didn't have to write today, I still always go back to that, where it's just like, God, I am so lucky that the thing that I always wanted to do, I actually accomplished. And how fortunate am I to be able to meet that passion and hand these stories off to the world and get comments from readers about how great they were and how they saw themselves in this couple. And, and oh my gosh, this is just like me and my wife. We read it every night before bed to our kids. And I'm just like, that's so cute. Like, it's so cute.
Well, speaking of being 11, what did you read as a kid that got you so inspired to become an author?
Everything. My dad took us to the library every Tuesday night, and he would have to put a limit on how many books we could get for the week. He'd be like, no more than 15, right? Like if it was some absurdly high number too, like, and we'd go through them. Like we'd get 15 books. We'd be walking out with our little stack, and the librarians knew us by name, and we knew how to, and he'd let us check out our own books, right? It was like 11 years old, we're scanning the books, or 10 years old. I mean, we were doing that from the time we were 5 years old. We'd go to the library, we'd pick out books every Tuesday night, and we'd read them throughout the week. And then we'd go back the next week, turn it back in, get a whole new set. And it was like very formative for me at the time. And then I read a couple books like Tamara Pierce's quartets were hugely inspirational for me. I loved her books. The Alana series, the Kell series were two of my favorites. And I think that they were beautifully written. And I loved how they showed like a young girl at 11 years old, like getting her period for the first time, right? Like publishing, there was a period where publishing would never, right? Like there was a period where publishing would never let that happen. And I think we're starting to see that period end, which is good. But I I was just like, even as a kid, I was like, holy crap, that's the experience I had, right? And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's amazing to see this like written down on paper. And that connection, I think, was what kind of did it, right? Like that moment where I got to read these stories and see myself in characters doing these fantastic things and realize, and then I go to school and I'd be like, this is so boring. I could be living in this world, you know, like I could be,
You people.
I could be riding dragons right now. I don't know. Like, why am I sitting here learning math? That's stupid. Like,
Right. Exactly.
yeah.
I love that.
Well, and you know, speaking of seeing yourself in stories, you know, the fact that, you know, Can't Spell Trees Without a T was your 15th book. You know, there's so many authors that we talked to, and we got trapped hardcore on one of our interviews last week, where we're like, "This was your first book." She's like, "Because I'm really secretive about the like trunk books that no one's ever going to see." And then we had a conversation about like, she's like, "This was my first book. It was horrible. It was the most horrendous thing ever written, and no one's ever going to read it ever." Like, I finished it and realized how bad it was, but I wrote a book. And then I put it away, and I
that's exactly it. I've got here, since we've got video going. This was one of my books that I wrote when I was a kid. It's like very thin, and it's
The King's what?
The King's Library. And it was like just like a little, like I self-published this, right? Like I went on like lulu.com and uploaded the manuscript, and then the same thing with this one. I'm covering my actual name because I used my real name. But like we had to we drew this when we were kids, right? And like the Enchantress's spell, and we like actually like packed it up, and like I don't know, it's just, and like this kind of stuff was very formative for me, because it was like there was something very powerful about holding a physical book in my hand at 15 years old and knowing that I had accomplished this, right? Like this was the thing that made me realize that I could do this for a living, you know? And it was exciting at the time, because like those books they're nowhere else. I will never republish them. They're not for anybody, but they're for me, right? Like they're for me to show my kids someday, to like be like, look at what I did when I was your age. Like, and not in a like you need to do this too, but in like a look at what you can accomplish if you actually set your mind to it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a book or something else. People, like, kids can do this too, you know? Like, and I think that's so important when you're dealing with younger writers, because like everybody, it's so funny. I feel like I talk to so many authors, most of whom are older, you know, in their 20s and 30s and 40s. And they're like, I want to write a book and be a bestseller. And I'm like, you know that bestsellers aren't made off of one book, right? like bestsellers don't come from one book. Almost every author I know, they didn't get published with their first book or their second or their third. And if they did, it's usually because they were in an industry adjacent to writing first, right? So like Travis Baldree was a narrator of lit RPG books before he wrote his book. So he was a video game designer and developer before that. So he was doing like the writing of narratives in a video game. Then he started narrating actual books. And then he used all of that experience to write a book that was like a banger, right? So that was his first book, but that was his first book after so many years of experience in industries adjacent to that. So I always tell people, I'm like, you can get a lot of really great careers that will help you be a writer later on, but like, don't write to sell at first, like write to discover, you know, like that's why I'm so grateful that I started writing at 11 years old, because I think that when you write at that age, you're not expecting fame and fortune, right? You're writing for fun. You know, I'm writing because I want to write about a girl and a dragon, not because I am expecting it to be the next blockbuster. And I think that allowed me to explore and discover things about my writing that I would not have learned if I hadn't taken 10 years to find it before I was actually interested in getting money from it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that like the younger kids can start writing, the better. Like the more experience they're going to end up getting, the more they'll be able to explore without pressure. You know, they don't have any bills to pay. They can just go and have fun, right? I love it. I just love it. I could talk about this for hours. Like, I think it's so interesting.
Well, and even just the process of knowing that you took something from an idea to the end, and that alone, like,
right, it's huge.
And so our kids, all at school, they have the option every year of, as the kind of a side project, getting to write a book. They can write fiction or nonfiction. And so our kids have primarily, two of our kids have only ever written nonfiction. And then one of them has only ever written fiction.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
And our one that only wrote fiction, she's actually going to writing camp this summer, but her book in the 7th grade was pictures because she said she couldn't think of the words to express what she was trying to say about the emotions. So it was just like happy and then like a picture, and like sad
so
and then a picture, and
but like what a beautiful way to learn how to process that.
Yeah, and had a teacher that was in charge of like the writing that didn't say no, you must write 20,000 words or whatever. Said like, yes, that is a completely appropriate way to explore expression, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to write and you need to understand those emotions, like this makes sense to me, go for it.
Right. Well, and it's been interesting because my wife is an electrical engineer. This is so off topic, but I love it. My wife is an electrical engineer, and she is very like, there's a right, like electrical engineering. There's a right answer and a wrong answer for everything, right? Like there is a process, and it's either right or wrong. And I'm not that way. I'm creative. I'm in a social field, right? Like as a flight attendant, there's no right or wrong way to talk to a passenger. It's all about the vibes and like learning from people. So I'm very like human focused and like creative focused, and she's very like analytically focused with the right and wrong way. But she also does write on the side. Like that's how we met. So it's been interesting to watch those two sides of her clash, because in her mind, there's like, she's like almost in like this paralyzed state with writing a book that she's like working through right now, because in her mind there is a right way and there's a way to fail, right? Like there's like a very clear way to fail if she starts writing. So she's been like paralyzed for years about the idea of like, how did she start writing a book knowing that she could fail? And I'm like, well, you can't fail if you just like try. Like, you know, like maybe that book doesn't get published, but like if you try, it could be really cool. Like you never know. And so it's been like very interesting to watch. And I think that like, you know, like again, we're hoping for kids this year, and it's like we're thinking about how we would be parenting in that way. And I think that it'll be a very interesting experience from both sides, because these kids are going to get kind of everything, you know, like they're going to have the ability to look at both sides and figure out what works for them, which is cool.
Well, believe me, the fact that she's an electrical engineer, like every time we have one of her, like the videos that pops up and it's more of like her electrical engineering stuff, or like everyone gather around.
I know. Now that I convinced her, because I was like, I'm making enough money. I was like, quit your job. Like, don't do it. And she's very much like, well, I have to have some job, right? And I'm like, no, you don't. Just be a housewife. And she's not that way. So she became a flight attendant. And that's her job now. And she's like delighted, because you can't take your job home with you. Like the plane is gone. Like there's no airplane, there's no passengers. You can't be serving people at home, right? And there's nobody emailing you asking for when you're going to come back. It's not that kind of job, right? So you have a schedule, and if you show up for that schedule, you're good. So she's been finding a lot of time in the recent weeks, now that she's a full-fledged flight attendant and got through the like their little like first month, there's like a couple requirements that she has to meet. She's gotten through that, and this is the first like real month that she's been flying. She's finding a lot of free time to like work on personal projects and like get herself creatively and like think about where she might want to go. So she's thinking about doing, like, she has like a book idea, because that's something that she really loves and wants to try. But she also has like, she wants to create like an engineering package to teach like little kids, like 4 and 5 year olds, about the basics of electrical engineering, because she has she's like, maybe I'll get her 3D printer and start making like little breadboards for the kids, you know, and showing them like more STEM kind of. It's like she has all these ideas now that like the creativity comes when you're not so weighed down with life and like chaos, you know. And I think that that's also something important. Like there's a lot of people who want to write a book and genuinely don't have the brain power to do it, and that's okay. Like it's like giving yourself grace to be like, maybe this book takes me 5 years, but at least I'm working towards it a little bit every day, you know, or a little bit every week. Even if I'm like working on parenting on the side, that's equally important, you know. I don't know. It's just kind of cool to see the differences.
Yeah. Well, as our book that as we were working on it, so his background is biomedical engineering.
Nice.
And so there's a lot of like,
I get your.
Anyway, we're halfway through. We write our entire.
You intimately understand, yeah.
We write our entire book together. We're on like the 3rd draft, and I have a question come up about, actually a question from a beta reader come up about our magic system, and I'm like, you know, I don't know. And he's like, well, here's how that would work.
Actually, yeah.
Like, but why? He's like, because our entire magic system is based on quantum physics. I'm like, what?
Yep.
He's like, no, you know quantum physics. You just don't know you know it.
Yeah, no, my wife is the same way. Like when she's coming up with like all of these like things, she's like, well, everything is electrical engineering. And she like brings everything back. And I'm just like, yes. Like she made those videos about LED like Christmas lights that went so viral because she was trying to explain them to me. And I'm just like, I'm like, yes, yes, you know, and like, I was like, yeah, that is so great, dear. And then she had to like get the toaster out and like actually show me, and that was helpful, you know, like now I understand it. But I was like listening to her, and I'm like, she was a professor for a while, so it makes sense that she could teach that stuff. But it is interesting to see, yeah, it's interesting to see like the science and the creative kind of come together to like make something totally new.
Like John Green's Everything is Tuberculosis. I really want her to wwrite Everything is Electrical Engineering now.
Everything is electrical engineering. Honestly, she probably could. She would probably vibe with that. She has like, she's very interested in it from a baseline. Like, it's funny because she was in engineering as a career, but she's not very good at, not that she's not very good. She was not really aiming or interested in the higher levels of engineering. Like, she wasn't good at becoming an expert in electrical engineering. She was interested in getting to like a certain baseline where she has a master's degree in it, and then teaching like kids how to get into it from that level. Like that, like it was more the elementary level for her, and how to best convey that. So it's been interesting to kind of watch her move through things and see what her path is going to be. I hope that she writes a book, because I think she would really enjoy that and like be able to check it off her list, but I don't think she'll stay in that space forever. Like, I think that she probably would write the book, check it off the list, and then move into something else. You know, she's got too many ideas.
There's probably a robot team out there that needs a coach.
Probably.
Robotics. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a lot of STEM schools in the area, and I feel like she would probably be a really good high school teacher. I feel like she would actually really enjoy that.
That would come home with you, though.
That
would. Trust me. Yeah. We have a couple of friends. We have a friend who actually
follow you to the grocery store.
Yeah. We have a friend who just quit being a high school teacher because she wants to be a writer, and she's like, so she's taking 1 year off, and she's like, I'm going to do my best to be an indie author in this year, and she's probably going to do it because she's very motivated. But like the stuff that she told me about her job, I'm like, oh my God.
Bless these high school kids. It's wild out there, folks.
Yeah. It's a thing. So yeah. We got wildly off topic, but I loved it.
This is welcome to our dinner table.
I love it. I love it.
Well, tell us what's next for you. So I know Moss in Space is coming out.
Moss in Space is definitely what's next. I'll show you guys how cute it is. Okay, so this is the one with the sprayed edges. So since we have a video, I'll show you guys. But if anybody is listening, this is the cover. It is very beautiful. You can find it online. Moss in Space. It's got like the little like thing and then like a nice little back area. But this is what we're excited about. So we decided to do paperback for this because hardcovers are expensive and the economy is rough, right? So in addition to doing paperback, I actually convinced my publisher to price it $1 cheaper than most paperbacks. So this one is actually $18.99 instead of $19.99, which I was very pleased with, because again, like times are hard and gas is expensive, and like,
yes,
that sucks. But to make it more special, because there's no like sprayed edges or anything, we have these French flaps that people can use with like character art on the inside. So I got 2 character arcs commissioned by the original artist of the Gilded Abyss indie book, and so she made these like character art inserts. So this is just like, it's like a really cool book. Like, it's like a very pretty, like, but it's nice that you can have like almost like the flaps that to like, you know, the page and stuff without worrying about that. Like, this is really unique. My publisher has not actually done a book with French flaps ever. So this was like a really big, this is like a really big deal for them. They were like, oh my God, we're doing French flaps. Everyone was so excited about the French flaps. And they look amazing. I mean, like the interior artwork on them, I'm like obsessed with. So this book is about, I'll give the pitch. It comes out on June 30th, and it is about a girl who buys a starship covered in moss, only to find out that the moss is both sentient and has severe abandonment issues. So think like it's very Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, very Murderbot, Firefly-esque vibes, Mass Effect vibes, if anybody played that video game. It's got all the best elements of cozy fantasy, but in space. So it's going to be like a very like down to earth, I say. It's going to be up in space, but down to earth, right? Kind of vibe. So this book is coming out June 30th, and it's going to be, when I tell you it's going to be everywhere, I mean it's going to be everywhere. Like, you will not be able to walk into a store without seeing this book. It's going to be huge. And I'm delighted about it. So I can't wait. So Moss in Space, please go pre-order. Or buy, I guess, depending on when this comes out.
And then what else? What's coming next? Because I know This Gilded Abyss.
So the sequel of Gilded Abyss, the one that I was working on for 3 years, is called This Crimson Ruin. And I don't have an art copy of it yet because it's still very early. But the cover is online if you wanted to look. That book is coming out December of 2026, and it is brutal. It is not cozy, and you have to read this book first, or you will be very confused. So highly recommend reading Gilded Abyss, and then if you like it, move into Crimson Ruin. I am writing right now This Obsidian Night, which is the third book in the series. And then I'm also writing the third book in the Moss series. So I finished the second one in May, and then I'm working on the third one in the fall. So that's pretty much what I've got contractually. And then in the meantime, I actually wrote a novella of the Tomes and Tea series, and that is releasing on my Patreon week by week right now. So anybody can go onto my Patreon and read a novella with Theo and Wylan set 6 years after the series completes, which is fun. And it's like a very like dramatic little like will they, won't they, second chance romance. So it's going to be very cute.
Well, because Theo and Wylan, like,
I know everybody is obsessed with Theo and Wylan. I know it's funny because like read the whole series first, but like at the end of the series, everyone's like, "We're so happy Theo and Wylan," and I'm like, "They're not together." Like, there's no way with their personalities that they can like stay together. Like, they needed to do so much more work before I could like confidently as an author keep them together. And that's what this novella is. So it's basically like set in the future, where a new lord comes in and Wylan starts to like fall for the new lord. And then Theo has to like reckon with how they actually feel about Wylan and like what they want to become as a couple. So it's a really good, it's a really good novella. It's called Take a Chance on Alchemy. Anyway, it's really cute. The cover is really beautiful. I again don't have a physical copy of it, but it's on my website and it's beautiful. So
I meant to say this, like, if you love puns and wordplay and like dad jokes, this is the right book series for you.
This is definitely the right book series for you. Yeah, my wife is very punny, and she's very like. And I'd hand her the book and I thought I was really good at puns, right? And then I met her and I'm like, oh man, you have trauma. Like, you're like very traumatized to have this many jokes. So she, she's just is so funny with that. I'm sorry, it's true. Like the traumatized people are always the ones with the really good jokes.
I love your brand of trauma.
She's got the greatest brand of trauma. So she added all those jokes into the Tomes and Tea. But Moss in Space, I will say, is laugh out loud funny. Like, it's not punny. It's like genuinely hilarious. Like the character Moss is like the sentient Moss is named Moss, and Moss as a character is like probably one of the funniest characters I've ever written. Like every time it comes onto the scene, I am obsessed. I cannot not write it. It's so funny. Yeah, highly recommend Moss in Space if you like to laugh, because that book is like, it's like Murderbot level humor. It's so great.
And if you don't like to laugh, what are you doing?
I feel like I may not write like the best books, but I can make you laugh when you're reading them, and that's important. So.
Especially in our modern world.
I feel like if you're reading a cozy book and you're laughing a little bit, even if the plot is not amazing, you're going to still enjoy yourself. So
yes.
Yeah.
So where you mentioned your Patreon, where can readers find you? What's the best way to connect and get more?
I have a website, RebeccaThorne.net, not .com. I didn't get that one, but I have .net. So RebeccaThorne.net, you can get pretty much all of my information. Events are all up there. That's probably the best like local place to go about book information. I'm also on Instagram. That's my primary. So you can find out most things on Instagram. And TikTok, I'm on occasion. Right now, I'm kind of tapping my way back in. But for a while, I left for political reasons. And then Patreon is going to be probably the best place for updates of like actual author news. So you can do my free Patreon and get an actual sample of Moss in Space. I'm going to be posting the first 3 chapters on Patreon this month. So chapter 1 is already up, and chapter 2 and 3 are coming. Chapter 2 is coming in a couple of days, and chapter 3 will come at the end of the month. And that will kind of lead into Moss in Space. You can read those for free. And then if you want to pay, you can get access to Take a Chance on Alchemy, which is the novella of Theo and Wylan. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been so fun.
I know, this was so fun. I enjoyed it. I had to wake up a bit in the beginning, but I feel like we got there.
So did we. It's all good.
Yeah.
Kind of had to put the real world aside for a minute.
Had to remind ourselves what our vibe is today. So
yes. Well, that is it from us. Everyone, let us know in the comments, are you going to start with the Tomes and Tea, or are you going to go pre-order Moss in Space? And Remember, we love you. Stay out of the clouds, off the ice, and come back to us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you so much. Happy Pride
Bye.
Month.
Thank
Love us
you.
at Will. Bye.